I think we got everybody.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us, Commissioner and staff. Thanks for organizing. I think with that, we can bring the meeting to order. Sound good? We'll do that. Yeah, thank you. So we're convening the March 2025 Board of Regents meeting. Appreciate everyone from all over Montana checking in. Dean Bauman, we're excited to connect with you here in a little bit, as we know that this is typically hosted on your campus, and certainly don't want to miss the opportunity to get caught up on what's going on with the Helena College. Start off by thanking everybody for joining the call today. I mean, I know how much work away from these meetings that we all put in, and just cannot thank you enough for the commitment to service. And that goes from to the board, to members of Clay's staff, to campus leadership, the folks all over Montana that are prioritizing higher education. Thanks so much for the dedicated leadership that the system relies on, and certainly is yielding some fantastic successes. I'm also really excited today to welcome our newest colleague, Regent Hoyer from Great Falls. We were all very pleased to hear of the governor's choice in selecting a leader from the K-12 arena, certainly a valued partner in our world, and look forward to working with you as we move forward. There's nothing more exciting than finding collaborative opportunities like this to merge higher ed and K-12, and we're excited about your leadership. Regent Hoyer, welcome. Any comments you'd like to make?
Well, thank you, Chairman Buchanan. I want to give thank you to the OCHI staff and to the leadership down there. You have made my onboarding, while I have a lot of questions, you've really made it smooth. And so on that, I know behind the scenes, a lot of work goes into that. And I really appreciate the work on the ground level, helping me start to get caught up to speed, as well as my fellow regents. You've all reached out, and I appreciate the welcome. I'm looking forward to the work ahead and excited about what we can do for Montana students P through 20. So thank you very much.
Regent Hoyer, thank you. We're all excited not only to get to work with you, to get to know you better, and again, to hear and see and feel the impact from K-12 leadership. Certainly something that we're eager to jump in with you. So again, thank you. Very excited for that opportunity. With that, Jasmine, would you please take roll?
Yes, Chair Buchanan.
Here, yes.
Regent Bao.
Here.
Regent Dombrowski.
Here.
Regent Southworth.
Here.
Regent Folkford.
He is excused.
Regent Hoyer.
Here.
Regent Mortensen.
Here.
Commissioner Christian.
Here.
Governor Gianforte is being represented by Dylan Klappmeyer.
Here.
And Superintendent Headland is being represented for roll call by Tyler, Deputy Superintendent.
Here.
Quorum is present. Back to you, Chair Buchanan.
Appreciate it. Mr. Klappmeyer and Ms. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us. Excited to get updates from you guys here in a little bit. And again, Dean Bauman, before we pass it to you, I thought I'd take a moment just to review the agenda, kind of lay the groundwork for our remote meeting. I want to say it again. Thank you to everyone for carving out some time, although we're not together in person. I appreciate all the work that committee chairs, committee members, and staff, campus leadership have put into putting together this important agenda. A brief agenda from Budget and Administration and Audit today. Looking forward to Regent Dombrowski's leadership there. And the ARSA committee, lots of Emeriti faculty. Hope you've all had a chance to review those items. This is a fun opportunity for us to recognize the dedication and professionalism of the faculty members in our system. And although we'd like to recognize absolutely every one of them in these individual manners, it's sure fun to get this opportunity to see some stars as we emerge, as we release their names and recognize their work. Also, a couple of honorary doctorates, as well as request to plan proposals. Regent Val, you've been busy in there. Thank you very much with your committee's work on ARSA. And finally, as this is a public meeting, we will allow for public comment. And then we do have one personnel item that we've deemed to fall under the Privacy Act. We're going to have an executive session to wrap up the meeting. I think that covers the agenda that we've got prepared for today. Commissioner Christian, anything else that you see that we need to forecast?
I think that looks good.
Okay, excellent. Well, Dean Bauman, sad that we're not there with you in person. but certainly excited to get caught up and hear about what's going on at Helena College. Excited to yield the microphone and Zoom focus to you for a bit here. Thanks so much for hosting today.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Chair Buchanan and Regents. Excited to see everyone and welcome to Helena College, in a manner of speaking. We are honored to be the official host of the March meeting. And since it's been 2 years since we've had this opportunity, I thought I'd start this morning by highlighting some of the things that are new in the last 2 years, talk a little bit about what's next for Helena College, and then end with some things that never change. And that's how we support students in our community and live our mission. So, Ange, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. I think there's one before that. There it is. What I'd like to do is share 3 examples of new initiatives at Helena College that showcase different aspects of our mission. And I want to start with our cosmetology program. That is our newest academic program. And as you can see in these photos, this is what our former fire training space looked like the last time you all gathered at Helena College. And now we can go to the next slide. So you can see what that dirt pile looks like today. This is our newest program. Our cosmetology program officially started taking students in January of 24, and we'll see that first cohort of students graduate this May. We intentionally built this Associate of Applied Science program to run year-round to allow our graduates to graduate in just 15 months and move into the workforce more quickly. Our students are learning all aspects of the business, from performing hair, skin, and nail services to the business skills they need to be successful, to the sanitation and health standards that are required in this industry. And they're doing all of that in a really impressive salon. It's really exciting to see it in action. We've had amazing industry and community support for the program. We've partnered with Kenra Professional for the products that we use in our salon and sold through our retail space. They've been incredibly generous, not just financially, but also with their expertise to provide educators that help our students learn the specialties of their products. The Helena area community has also been very supportive with the industry support. Those folks are generous with not just supplies and financially, but they're also really giving of their time, serving on our advisory board to help us make the best program possible, coming in to serve as specialist guest lecturers so our students learn those specialty skills, and also help our students connect with the community that they'll be moving into professionally. And finally, I really would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the Helena community for all of the support they've given the college in this program. In April, we hosted the largest ever Chamber of Commerce ribbon cutting ceremony and business after hours event with hundreds of community members coming out to show their support. The community has also been very supportive of the salon and provided a great opportunity for our students to learn through providing services. As of Monday of this week, the students have performed over 5,000 services on live clients. That's a really impressive number. And in particular, when you remember that they started seeing clients in the salon space in May, so less than a year ago. It's fun to see what they're doing. That number includes over 1,400 haircuts, followed by almost 1,000 pedicures and over 900 manicure and nail services performed on live clients. Can you move to the next slide, please, Ange? I also wanted to highlight some of the non-credit training that we perform around the state. This year, we became the host of the Montana Motorcycle Rider Safety Program, which does serve the entire state, providing that important safety training that folks need if they're seeking a motorcycle endorsement for their driver's license. We were able to offer courses at 10 different locations around Montana this year, and I'm happy to share that 916 people successfully completed the course, up from 723 last year. So that's 916 people less likely to be involved in a fatal motorcycle accident. It's exciting to continue to grow this program and have such a positive impact on public safety. And as we move to the next slide, the Montana Motorcycle Rider Safety Program also gives us a great opportunity to partner with other schools in the Montana University system for mutual benefit. The photo you see here is of a ribbon cutting ceremony for a new training space at Missoula College. The Rider Safety Program partnered with Missoula College to create a certified motorcycle range on their campus to allow access to this important training in a community where it's increasingly difficult to find space to hold the classes. And that makes it very difficult for us to provide this training statewide. What this arrangement also did was allow for the training facility for the Missoula College CDL program to operate in an improved space. And of course, CDL is very needed for our workforce. So this is really a true win-win for both programs. And at Helena College, we're in conversations with other schools and excited to see how we can continue to partner around the system for mutual benefit. Next slide. The third aspect, a new initiative I wanted to highlight, showcases another piece of our mission, and that's community engagement. In the Helena community for over 40 years, local leaders have been meeting every single Thursday morning at 7 a.m. to discuss issues impacting our community. This includes representatives from city, county, and state government, nonprofit organizations, education representatives, local businesses. In the last year, their former location was no longer available, and we have decided to pick that up weekly. It's a great opportunity for our community to come together to talk about important issues to improve the space we live in. It's also a great opportunity for Helena College, not only to support our community by providing this forum for this gathering, but it's also great for the college that it raises awareness with every single community leader who's coming weekly to Helena College. They can't help but think about us every single week. So it's another true win-win there through partnership. As we move to the next slide, I'd like to talk about what's coming next for Helena College. We're working on our next academic program, and that's Occupational Therapy Assistant Program, which will be the first in the state. Occupational therapy is a growing branch of healthcare that focuses on rehabilitation in a holistic sense, helping people with the skills of daily living. There's currently a gap in training in Montana for this career that we're addressing with this program. Occupational therapy assistant is a licensed profession in Montana. However, there are currently no education programs offered in the state to help prepare for that licensure. And so this has had several consequences for us in Montana. First, due to the lack of training, there are very low numbers of people working in this career, which has led to an economic impact for businesses. Businesses are forced to hire occupational therapists at a higher pay scale to perform services that are allowed within the scope of practice of OTAs. So by increasing the number of OTAs, this will allow those occupational therapists to focus on creating treatment plans and assessments, the work for which they're trained. And it'll allow the OTAs to work hands-on with the clients utilizing those treatment plans. This improves everyone's experience, from the occupational therapist to the OTA to the clients and patients that are being served. Some of the other benefits of the structure of this program include creating a pathway to occupational therapy education to give options for advancement throughout their career. We've worked with the University of Montana to ensure that the coursework in this program feeds directly into the bachelor's degree program students need to complete, with all of the required coursework to prepare them for that doctoral program offered at UM. We're also building this program as a high-flex program to allow access statewide. Students in our region will be coming to campus for their didactic or their theory courses and their hands-on training. But we'll also offer that didactic coursework through remote delivery, and then connect students in remote locations with occupational therapists to complete the hands-on. That way we're serving our rural community as well. And lastly, we're building this as a sprint degree program. Just like cosmetology, our goal is to have students complete within 15 months to get them into the workforce more quickly. We're right on track to receive our accreditation through the Industry Accrediting Board, ACOT, in January of 27. So we'll take our first students in that semester. That means promotion and recruitment will start in earnest this fall for the program. Next slide, please. So that's a little bit about what's happened over the last couple of years and what we're working on next at Helena College. But it's important for me to highlight some of the things that just never change. What remains constant at Helena College is our focus on students. And good news, we have more of them to serve. Our average annual FTE has grown by nearly 10% since the 2021 school year. And our unduplicated headcount is projected to be over 2,000 this year for the first time since 2012, 2013. Not only are there more students, but they are very successful. In 24, we awarded the second highest number of degrees that we've done since we started tracking that number in 2008. We're extremely proud of our transfer students as well. 96% of Helena College students who transferred to a four-year were in good academic standing with a median GPA of 3.74 in the fall of 23. And that GPA number has been over 3.0 since 2017. This is a true testament to the quality of education they're receiving at Helena College. Our students are well prepared for their upper division coursework. As we go to the next slide, I'd like to share a little bit about our student body president to highlight the importance of dual enrollment on our campus. A big part of that impressive headcount number that I mentioned a minute ago has to do with our success in dual enrollment. Last year, we served over 1,200 dual enrollment students, which is an exciting number in and of itself, but this year we estimate that number to be over 1,450. So we are seeing steady growth every single year in dual enrollment. One growing trend in dual enrollment that we're really proud of are those high school students who are taking classes for college credit only. Those are the students who are coming to our campus or taking online classes from one of our instructors. And that number has almost tripled since 21, going from 71 students to 206 this year. And I'd like to share Isabella's story to highlight why we're so proud of that number. Isabella Williamson is our student body president, and she started taking classes on our campus when she was a senior at East Helena High School. And during that time, she started to get really involved on our campus. The growth in her confidence and her connection to campus is really inspirational. She's a first-generation college student and self-proclaimed very shy person, but she's about to graduate this spring with her Associate of Science degree. In her time here, she's been a work-study student, the president of the Associated Students of Helena College. She started a Circle K service club, which has been chartered by Kiwanis International, and she's a leader in the Public Mental Health Club. Her plan is to transfer and attend the University of Montana this fall to pursue a career in public health. Isabella's story is just a great example of what's possible when dual enrollment students have that authentic college experience and can really see themselves being successful in ways that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. Move to the next slide, please. I'd also like to highlight the return on investment of this Helena College education. We have one of the lowest tuition rates in the state, and our students are able to realize an average of a $10,000 a year increase in their salary within 3 years of graduating. Our top earning programs are software development, fire and emergency services, which you see pictured here, and registered nursing, all of those coming in the ballpark of $80,000 a year. These are great entry-level wages, and the career opportunities for growth are great in all of these careers. Just 3 good examples of the life-changing education we provide here at Helena College. On the next slide, I'd just like to sum it up by saying, as you can tell, we're really, really proud of the work we do here at Helena College. We have amazing academic programs, including the new ones, amazing training opportunities around the state, inspiring student success numbers and stories, and we are seeing steady growth. And as Ange transitions to the last slide, I'll end, as I always do, by thanking the employees of Helena College. It is really the people here that make this a great place. We're really small, so everyone who comes on our campus gets very personal, individualized attention. I leave you with this award-winning photo taken by one of those amazing people I just mentioned, and that's our anatomy and physiology instructor, Dr. Larry Taylor, who is also a celebrated wildlife photographer. As you enjoy Larry's artwork, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have for me.
Dean Bauman, thank you. What a great report. And I appreciate how you finish your comments every time, thanking your staff. We have so many people to thank for things that are getting done. And specifically, it looks like based on that first slide, we need to thank you for keeping President Bodnar in tip-top shape. I think he was sitting in that haircut chair. That's great.
I got to say, Jordan did a great job on that haircut. It was fantastic.
I feel bad. We should have been in person so we can get your annual clip when you're there. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, President Bonner. Dean Bauman, thank you again. Deeply appreciate you and look forward to being back on campus in person as we get back on cycle. Thanks so much for all you're doing. Before we turn it over to Commissioner Christian for a couple of updates, I believe every member of the board has received the minutes. We'll need to approve those. Are there any corrections as it relates to the minutes from our January meeting? Seeing none, those are approved as distributed. Thank you. It's always a nice reminder to get in touch with folks like Dean Bauman to hear about what's happening on the ground within our campuses. If you've not been paying attention to state and federal policy, I think I'd request you Teams me your news sources. It's been a busy couple of months. And with that, I will pass this off to Commissioner Christian. I think that the role of the commissioner, as we all recognize it, is very multifaceted, but one of the most important pieces is stewarding not only our efforts with our federal delegation and responding to federal change, but taking the lead with our state legislature and our agenda. It's been a busy couple of months. I know that we'll get into more detail, but as we've hit transmittal, which is kind of halftime in the session, we're looking forward to an update on that. I know Commissioner Christian has a couple of introductions as well as campus reports. I'll start with saying a thank you to you and your staff for running point on all of this, Commissioner. Pass the microphone your direction, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Chair Buchanan, members of the board, appreciate you taking time out of your spring to spend a day with us. Solidly into spring semester now across the campus communities, an incredibly busy, hectic time of year on the cusp of spring breaks across the system. And no matter how many times we've moved the dates of this meeting, we seem to fall right on top of the Big Sky Championship Conference play or tournament. Incredibly proud of our 4 teams that participated in that tournament, and even more proud that we'll see Montana representing the Big Sky, both the men and women teams in the NCAA March Madness tournament coming up. So that's pretty exciting stuff. It has left us, though, with people scattered all over the state and all over the West. So appreciate everyone's indulgence with this meeting being in a Zoom format. Like to echo your comments, Mr. Chair, and welcome Regent Hoyer to the board. I know we had a chance to meet and get to know you a bit, but we really look forward to what you bring to this conversation. Extensive experience in the K-12 arena. I know you're busy with your day job already, so we appreciate you adding this to your plate, but I think it will be a really good insight to bring to the table, and we just appreciate you joining us and look forward to working with you moving forward. Dr. Bauman, thank you for your excellent update. Looks like all things going well at Helena College. Again, sorry we're not there to enjoy this meeting in person, but just appreciate all you're doing in your community. You're a vital and vibrant part of the Helena community, and we certainly acknowledge and thank you for all that. Yes, as Chair Buchanan said, we're literally at the halfway point in the legislative session. Last Friday was, in fact, the transmittal deadline for general bills. The House will be back. House back tomorrow? Monday. Senate back tomorrow. House back on Monday. So look forward to the second half in the basketball vernacular that's played out in the last week. We need to finish strong here, and we'll have all hands on deck to try to do that. But looking forward to the second leg of this. We really had an excellent series of meetings with the Section E Joint Appropriations Subcommittee in January. Believe that partnership is very solid, and we have formed a great relationship with the governor's office and the legislature over the years. really to help make this a fairly amicable, given all things, and productive process for the MUS. I'm very grateful for the keen attention the members of Section E and Section F subcommittees gave to our programs and our proposals. And I want to extend in this format our thanks to all of those members for the work that they've done to support the MUS. Of course, halfway, so we got some things to do, but I'm very encouraged by how well the MUS has been received by the subcommittee. Their comprehension and understanding of what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it, and the investments that they've made and the governor's made in the MUS up to this point, or at least those commitments. If passed, I really think this will continue to do great things for Montana, for our students, for the economy, in particular as we graduate students all across the state to help build Montana's workforce out. In just a moment here, I'm going to hand this off to Deputy Commissioner Hollenbaugh, Trevor Teal, and Chief Legal Counsel Bovington, and they're going to give you some updates on our legislative priorities, some of the policy bills, where they're at in the process, and to the best that we can, a little update or window into the rapidly evolving federal landscape. Announcements going on sort of as we speak, so we'll do our best to keep everyone in the loop. We're certainly monitoring that on a moment-by-moment basis, and we'll do what we can to keep everyone in the know as much as we can. I know this is early, being at the halfway point, but I do want to, before I hand it off, just take a moment to thank this entire crew at OCHI that's been working hard and incredibly dedicated this legislative session. To my left here, hitting his stride in full steam, Galen's worked this Capitol tirelessly, communicating our message and honestly just hustling support for where we need it and when we need it to a level that we really haven't seen before. And I'm very thankful for that. Of course, he didn't do it alone. Had a good communications team, help from Tracy Ellick, Dean Koontz from the campuses, and of course our student lobbyists, Emmett Jeske, Isabel Watson, and Hope Morrison, all been there every day, working the Capitol the best we can to try to share our message. It's really impressive for my chair to see how well this team is functioning. Our legal team reviewing bills daily as they come out, academic and budget teams preparing our presentations and responding to just an incredible barrage of questions, fiscal notes, all the work that has to be sort of done behind the scenes from this office to feed our information into the legislative team and their work over there. The entire OCHI staff has just been a part of this session, and I want to thank them for all their support. And finally, just to really put an exclamation point, Director Leanne Kurtz, if you don't know, Legislative Services implemented a new bill tracking system this session. I would say it probably went better than the FAFSA simplification, but it's been a challenge to say the least. She's been responsible for ensuring that we have full access to the new system, done a fantastic job working with Legislative Services to create the lists that we need, the searches that we need, and then track all of this information into a brand new system. In addition, as you know, she's been an integral part of our budget preparation, but also working every week to keep you all updated with the legislative updates and the Friday calls. So thanks to Leanne for what she's doing. Synergy, defined as the interaction of elements that when combined produce a total effect that's greater than the sum of the individual parts. I think that's what we have happening at OCHI to a level that sort of top of everyone's game here. And I really appreciate the efforts and all that this team is doing to move this session forward. Halftime, we'll keep at it. We won't pat ourselves on the back too hard until we get to the end of this, but really appreciate the work of this team. With that, hand it off to the deputies here for some a little more specific updates.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we'll start off with a quick review of the federal landscape. As the Commissioner noted, I think I'll qualify my remarks before I start in on any discussion about the status of the continuing resolution or the happenings at the Department of Education with, I guess, indicating that my remarks will probably have a half-life scheduled on them. They're probably measured in hours due to the speed with which things are changing in DC. But we'll plow ahead anyway. So, Angie, next slide. So as far as the status of the continuing resolution goes, as you may be aware, the U.S. House did pass a continuing resolution to extend government funding until September 30th. They did that on Tuesday of this week. It is a clean CR for education, but it does not contain any earmarks. Now, the removal of those earmarks are responsible for what they're asking for is a $13 billion cut in non-defense spending. We believe that the removal of those earmarks will have no impact on the Montana University system. And where we're left standing today is this bill resolution moves on to the Senate, where they must pass that CR by Friday, by tomorrow, in order to avoid a federal government shutdown. News coming out of DC this morning indicates that the Senate may be a few votes short in passing that, but it's all up in the air at this point. We'll see what happens with further negotiations. So shutdown is pending. But on a related note, we've all seen the news and heard of the recent announcement from the U.S. Department of Education regarding a reduction in force. At this time, we're really unable to assess how that RIF and the pending staff reorganization will impact how the services that we rely upon will be provided. We are in touch with our federal delegation to get as much information as we can from them, but also to let them know our priorities. We are keenly aware of the $43 million in Pell Grants the system receives as of last year, and much more is offered through federal student loans. But we also have 29 TRIO programs that receive $9 million in federal funding, along with various services for veterans and for disabled students. We will be intensely watching the developments out of Washington, D.C. and the reorganization of the U.S. Department of Education to make sure that we don't see adverse effects related to that reorganization. With that, Ange, is there a FAFSA slide? Can move on to that. Oh, sorry, pass through that.
Speaking
Okay.
of FAFSA.
Yeah, FAFSA update. As we look at this, the news is pretty good coming out this year. Very, very, very different than last year's look at FAFSA. The good news really is that it's functioning as it was intended to function. We have been receiving reports that it's been fairly easy for parents, students, and financial aid officers to both enter data and receive data. We have the second bullet there is one of our indicators that we know that the system is operating as it should, as the financial aid staff at the federal level have been able to start processing those big batches of fixes that some institutions need. While that is not necessarily as important to the Montana University system campuses, as we don't have large numbers of FAFSAs coming in that require that type of assistance. Recognizing the fact that they have enough flexibility in their time to actually help institutions with that really does indicate that the new FAFSA system is on the right track. We have seen an increase over last year's FAFSA uptake, but I think it is important to note that we still are not back to the 22 and 23 levels. We are attributing that to mainly the fact that in 22 and 23, the FAFSA system was opened up in October. And for this year, the beginning of the FAFSA season started in December. So a couple of months difference, slightly explaining a little bit slower uptake of those applications. The only thing that we're concerned about to watch, and of course, this is all depending upon the CR, and of course, some things that may or may not be happening with the U.S. Department of Education without a congressional fix, as we're noting there on the bottom. The Pell Grant program is indeed facing a shortfall into the future, and we'll need some assistance from our federal partners to address that. With that, that's the quick FAFSA update that we're seeing, and we'll move on to Deputy Commissioner Teal will talk about the impacts of the federal announcement on research.
Thanks very much, Galen. Mr. Chair, I'd say really there's two big buckets of impacts of federal announcements this spring on research. The first bucket is kind of the short term, and it's the federal funding pause and the impacts of executive orders on current grants and contracts. And then now the second bucket is slightly longer term, and that is the now enjoined NIH announcement on capping indirect cost returns on federal grants. So starting with the federal pause and executive orders, to date, we've seen $17 million in grants and contracts across the MUS canceled, and that includes agreements with the Department of Defense, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of State, and the NIH. The two largest of those, one is a $10 million Environmental Protection Agency grant to MSU Bozeman for the Mountains and Plains Thriving Community Collaborative that was funding a team that would support smaller communities across 5 states working on planning for water, wastewater, broadband, and energy projects. And then second, a $3.1 million Department of Defense Strengthening Our Nation Through Civic Education grant to the Mansfield Center at the University of Montana. In addition to those cancellations, we also still have a little more than a dozen grants that have formal stop work orders. So we don't yet know if those will be canceled, if those are kind of on an ongoing pause. Those grants are from USDA, the CDC, the U.S. Department of Energy, the Forest Service, and then also various Montana state agencies who are pausing work because their federal funding is being disrupted. And then in addition to those, we have kind of the category of known unknowns. So these are areas where we've received guidance from federal agencies, sometimes larger ones. National Science Foundation is in this category, who've instructed grantees to comply with the executive orders, but not really provided further guidance. And so in many of those cases, our VPRs have instructed faculty grants to not spend in areas that we think could be implicated by those executive orders, because as further guidance comes forward, those agencies might request that funding back. So in summary, on the funding pause on the executive orders, some cancellations, some disruptions. I think the thing that I'll say is our faculty, our grad students deserve a lot of thanks and recognition for, in this period of disruption, staying focused on the work, staying focused on continuing the projects, the experiments, the science that these grants fund, and then enormous recognition for our research administration staff. I've seen the spreadsheets and they are gnarly. They are receiving guidance from dozens of federal agencies, dozens of program directors at the federal level, sometimes conflicting guidance, and doing their best to both track all of that and provide good support to faculty, principal investigators, so that we're both compliant, but we can keep doing some of the work that we're expected to do under these grants and contracts. Moving to kind of the second category, and that's the NIH IDC cap. On February 7th, NIH issued this announcement that they would cap indirect costs on grants at 15%. For your reference, most of our institutions have negotiated rates that are between 40 and 50%, and most private universities have rates that are in the range of 60 to 65%. That announcement was enjoined on February 10th. Last week, that was extended to a nationwide preliminary injunction. So for now, the NIH cap is on pause. What we'll say is, in the longer term, agencies will have some latitude through rulemaking or through renegotiation of those IDC rates with institutions or through other means to potentially reduce those reimbursement rates. That could have a pretty substantial impact on the MUS. Included here is a fact sheet that includes our estimates of what that impact would have been if the NIH cap went into place. That would have been a $3.7 million annual cut to IDCs. If that 15% cap was extended across all federal awards, that'd be a $28 million cut, which is about half of our total IDC revenue. And I recognize IDCs can be a strange thing to talk about and difficult to understand why those rates are, how they come into being, how they're reviewed. And really to answer, you have to go back in history a little ways. Post-World War II, we recognize our science infrastructure was really important to the war effort, not just in weaponry, but in health, penicillin, communications, radar. Post that war, we stood up our national labs and we started establishing what has become the modern research university. And indirect costs have played an important part in that. They support the infrastructure that isn't attributable to a single grant, but supports research overall. And that infrastructure really has made us dominant in science and technology globally. 40 years, China, Europe have tried to build similar research university networks, but we're still more productive. We still have, as you see in the headlines, GLP-1s, mRNA vaccines, large language models, sensors for autonomous vehicles, developed through our universities, our university infrastructure. If we see sustained reductions, the university system's participation in that kind of science advancement would be hit. We'd have to close or combine research facilities, reduce staffing, and it would weaken our ability to support, attract, retain top-tier research faculty. With that, I'll turn it back to Galen.
Thank you, Joe. Ange, moving on to Chief Counsel Bloomington's update from, or any updates from the department's Dear Colleague letter.
Let's just pause one second. Any questions from the board? A lot of information there. Certainly comfortable following up. I do appreciate, Joe, the comments around what IDCs are. I think sometimes they get kind of sold as this administrative burden that means nothing. It is how the federal government helps us do what it is we do. It's how we build labs. It's how we retool, retrain. It's an important part of the mission. I think it will cause some stagnation in our abilities to adapt and take on new challenges, learn new things if that vehicle for how we upgrade, how we buy equipment, how we move from one interest level to another is going to be affected. But, we remain optimistic and we'll continue to monitor this, work through this. I think it's important that all of us in this campus, in this MUS community, make sure that we're spreading the message as best we can of what things are and what things aren't. Joyce, I see a hand up.
Yes, thanks, Commissioner. Would you mind rolling that slide to that spreadsheet or sort of the one pager? I know it's attached to the agenda, but I know it's part of Joe's right there. I am thinking or suggesting or maybe asking if we're asked, is this the appropriate data to share with individuals who are asking the impact?
Joyce,
Regent Dombrowski, yeah, it is at this time. I mean, that's the interesting caveat to all of this. It's moving quickly, but yes, that's exactly why it's prepared, and we believe that'll help with answering some questions.
Just to follow up, have you and your staff used this in any venue that we need to be aware of and understand what a response may be? And I get it could all change by noon.
Yeah, Regent Dombrowski, yes, this has been shared with comm staff across the university system, as well as anybody else who has asked for comment or information from OCHI.
And has there been a response?
Regent Dombrowski, there have been a few press articles on that. It has mainly been used to explain what's happening mostly across our campuses to faculty, staff, students that are concerned about it. But it has drawn just a little bit of press interest.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would only add that, as we look at this data, it's about dollars and it's about percentages, and what we know and have seen and are hearing from a lot of people, that there are people directly impacted by this. And I want to compliment Deputy Commissioner Teal's comment earlier that, those of us that are potentially impacted are more focused on continuing their work and letting this OCHI staff manage and monitor the communications coming in. And to those that are impacted, we're gonna keep monitoring and look for solutions, but we appreciate the impact that you may be feeling, and thank you for your work and resilience in this environment.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Chair. That's an important piece. The human element of this is an important piece that is certainly on top of mind for all of us. Ready to move on?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner Hollenbaugh, Mr. Chair, and good morning to the board. I did want to just let the board know that your legal team here at OCHI, as well as the legal teams on campus, are carefully tracking activity at the federal level, both in terms of executive orders from the president and then interpretation and communication about those that impact higher ed that come down from agencies. As we've all acknowledged, things are happening quickly and we don't always have immediate answers, but we are trying to keep careful track and have sort of a deliberate and thoughtful process as those decisions come down. And in that vein, on February 14th, the U.S. Department of Education issued a Dear Colleague letter outlining their expectations for institutions of higher ed as they relate to constitutional protections against discrimination on the basis of race. When we received that letter, Commissioner Christian requested that the legal office review MUS policies and practices to make sure that we could affirm that we were in compliance with that letter and with the guidelines that have come down since. And we are happy to report that we have determined we are in compliance with that guidance. MUS institutions do not consider race or any other protected class status in terms of our hiring or admission practices. And we also don't offer, we don't segregate students based on race or any other protective status. We've shared that review with the campus, and they will continue to be vigilant to ensure that our institutions don't segregate students or distribute benefits or burdens based on race. But at this point in time, we don't think there's any additional work that needs to be done by the board or the campus other than just continuing to closely monitor. But we are confident that our hiring practices and our admission practices are in compliance with the Dear Colleague letter.
Okay. Thank you for that. This kind of reaches the end of the federal piece of this update. I guess I would say, and I was at the National Association of System Heads meeting last week. This is certainly on everyone's radar, trying to analyze, figure out where it is. I think it's sort of interesting to participate in those conversations. Those like me that have been around a while realize there's certainly room for improvement at a federal level. So I don't take all this as negative news, and I hope this report doesn't sound like that. I think there's great opportunities to improve how we interact with the federal government. Clearly, Pell funding, student loan availability, there's some pieces of this that have to happen for us. And I think research for the good of the country plays its role. The correlation between research investment and GDP of countries and growth in that GDP is an incredibly strong correlation. These are important things, but how we administer those, which is really the conversation, I believe there's opportunities and room to see those improve. And we are part of a couple national organizations that are working closely with the powers that be in DC to try to embed some of those thoughts, those suggestions into how this moves forward. So we'll continue to monitor. Change always brings reaction, and for good reason. but we will look for opportunities to improve the landscape and move this entire conversation forward, strengthening whatever that level of interaction is, whether it's through Department of Ed or other organizations within DC. I get it. From some level, it might be that Pell dollars are better distributed through Treasury than a whole other bureaucracy within Department of Ed. So I just simply say, I understand they're trying to effectuate some change. We support that. We'll work closely with our delegation and with these national associations to see that, student success, what we need for students, what we need for the good of the country in terms of research isn't lost in that conversation, but in fact improved. And I think there's an opportunity to do that. With that, I think unless there's more questions on the federal side of it, we can move into sort of the state update piece. Okay. We'll go to the state.
Okay. Fantastic. Moving over to the state, we are at halftime of the legislative session. We have a little bit more certainty when it comes to the state legislature in terms of where things stand. Ange, we'll move on to the first slide there. Of course, the first things, our top three priorities are all moving along nicely through the session. House Bill 2, 5, 10, and 13 have all had their initial hearings and have all received favorable reports out of committee. Starting with House Bill 2, with that, the section, as the commissioner indicated, Section E was really responsive to our testimony and has been working very, very hard with us to make sure that they feel they've adequately addressed the concerns and issues that we have brought to their attention. Our portion of House Bill 2 has received all of its inflationary increase and fixed costs without any addition. So the budget effectively was passed out without anything being removed besides the one decision package for the online hybrid JD program at the University of Montana. However, the committee really did listen to our concerns when we were talking about sorry, Ange, I need the added amendments there. They really did listen to our concerns when we were talking to them about the need for additional funding for 1-2 free and for our Montana 10 program. And not only did they understand and recognize the need for the Montana University system for the 1-2 free program, they also chose to add additional money for our community colleges and our colleagues with the tribal colleges, which will be a tremendous help for us as we move forward with the expansion of dual enrollment and the efforts that are put forth there. In addition, all of the hard work that members of the board and folks here have been putting into achieving some funding levels for Montana 10 paid off. The committee listened to us, and while we did not receive the what we were initially asking for, we got a pretty healthy addition to Montana 10 from the subcommittee. They listened very carefully to what we presented, and we were successful in receiving some additional funding for Montana 10. In addition, the subcommittee listened to our tribal colleagues in working to receive some more assistance for them for the Native American Graves Repatriation Act funding. That is a program that a dedicated group of faculty and students at the University of Montana had begun working to get the University of Montana in compliance with that act. If you're unfamiliar with what that act requires, it requires the museums, agencies, and universities that accept federal funding consult with Native American tribes regarding the repatriation of human remains, funerary objects, sacred objects, and objects of cultural patrimony in museum collections or discovered on federal or tribal lands. It's a fairly extensive process they're going through. The additional money there brought forth by an amendment from Senator Wendy Boy for another $735,000 will help that group, not only with the University of Montana moving forward in terms of their compliance with the act, but also spread across the university system to help with additional compliance efforts across our campuses.
In the state, right?
In the state.
Yeah.
So it's really the group at U of M, when they started in on that, really dug in, and it's quite an amazing story to listen to all of the work that they've done. The committee listened to that, understood what it meant, and saw fit to give some additional funding for that effort. Tribal colleges were also successful in increasing their got an inflationary increase to the payment for non-native beneficiaries. This is the first time since 2016 they have received any increase in that funding formula. Now that $550,000 included in that amendment is also included in a companion bill coming out, which means the policy to increase that inflationary increase needs to be passed in a separate bill, not just in House Bill 2. So those will need to run concurrently through the legislative session for that to be approved. And of course, the folks at Graduate Medical Education were very successful in a great presentation in front of the subcommittee in receiving some money to expand the residency programs in the state. So all in all, a great Section E, as the commissioner noted. They were very attentive to our demands, and as you can see, we received some pretty nice additions to the budget. We'll continue to work that process. Now, a word of caution on all of this: House Bill 2 has a long way to go before its final resting spot. We are up in front of House Appropriations next week, Wednesday through Friday. The full Appropriations Committee will be looking at the entirety of House Bill 2. Of course, amendments can be brought throughout the entire process, not only in House Appropriations Committee, but on the House floor. And then as it switches over to the Senate Finance and Claims Committee, and then headed to the Senate floor, and then what is likely to be a conference committee as the two bodies in the governor's office attempt to work out the final numbers for House Bill 2. So a long way to go on that still, but we're in a great spot to start with, and it's always better to have things in the budget than be trying to get things in the budget. So again, many thanks to our friends on Section E for listening to our concerns and taking action on that. Next up, House Bill 5 and House Bill 10 also are moving nicely through the process. None of the projects that were initially included in our portion of House Bill 5 and our portion of House Bill 10, all listed there on this slide, have been amended, fully funded, and moving forward. House Bill 10 is awaiting action on the House floor when they come back, probably in that first week, starting on the 17th. And House Bill 5 will have its first hearing in front of House Appropriations on Monday, the 17th. So again, thanks to our colleagues and friends on Section F for listening to our presentations, understanding our needs with both of those bills. With that, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, Andrew, we can move to the next slide. Then we're moving on to, you know what, actually I missed House Bill 13, apologies. House Bill 13, which is better known as the State Employee Pay Plan, has been rapidly moving through the process. We're all aware of the three items contained within that bill: the increase to the wage by $1 an hour, 2.5%, which is ever greater, a slight bump to per diem, and then an increase in the employer contribution to health benefits. That bill has passed all the way through the House and through Senate Finance and Claims, and is awaiting floor action on the Senate when they return from transmittal. It appears to have really nothing blocking its path, and we look forward to a quick passage of the House Bill 13. Now, moving on to the policy side of things, a quick overview for those who don't know how we track bills within the OCHI office. As the commissioner referenced, we have a new tracking system that's been put into place this year. What happens here at OCHI is everybody takes a look at all of the bills and titles that are being introduced. The LC numbers that are out there typically only have the broadest of broad short titles associated with them. So oftentimes bills are flagged that we would potentially be interested in tracking, only to see once the bill text come out that it is not something that would be of interest to the university system. However, we do need to have everybody, all hands on deck, sort of reviewing all of those bills as they work from LCs to being assigned bill numbers with text attached to them, so we can absolutely determined that we make sure that we follow all of those bills or work the bills that may have an impact to the Montana university system. And that is what Leanne has been doing for us. It's quite a burden, and there are a lot of bills. We currently have 170 bills that we are tracking to make sure that they aren't either amended to impact the university system or that do have an impact on the university system. So the day 48 status that we have up, Leanne, I think there's an attachment as well for you, those of you who want to click along. This is a long list. This is the compilation of all of the bills that you have been reading about on the Friday update. These are the bills that we feel have been most pertinent for everybody's understanding or review to see what's happening. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I would like to highlight a few of the bills on this list. And if you folks, if you're scrolling through this list, I'm going to kind of just call them out by bill number, and you can look through the list if you want to see the titles of them. I'll give a short title as I talk about them. But first, we have two bills that address student access to bathrooms, locker rooms, and sleeping quarters. Both of them are still alive in the process. The first being House Bill 121, often referred to as the bathroom bill, and House Bill 300 is the other bill that falls under these categories. First, the bathroom bill, as it's referred to, the requirements underneath this for the bathroom requirements state that bathrooms must be designated as single occupancy and that multi-occupant bathrooms must now be designated as either male or female. Director Stevenson has been working hard going through campuses, doing inventory of the bathrooms to see what we may have to do to implement this bill. He's indicated that it will have minimal impact on our campuses, with around 6 or 7 bathrooms that will need some sign modifications and one needing some urinals removed to meet single occupancy requirements. So that bill, House Bill 121, has passed the legislature and sits on the governor's desk awaiting signature. Moving on, House Bill 300. This bill has a couple of components in it. First, it bans participation by transgender females from participation in female sports, as well as creating a very broad new claim for unlawful discrimination against educational institutions. Now, initially, with this bill, the transgender sports ban would have put our NCAA campuses in direct violation with NCAA policy. But due to a recent executive order and a policy change by the NCAA, that provision within the bill no longer applies, and we would be compliant should House Bill 300 pass and not have any concerns with violating NCAA policy. However, we will continue to work on this bill in the Senate to help to further define the scope of the discrimination claims, in particular as it applies to sleeping quarters. As Chief Counsel has pointed out here, there is a scenario where you could have 2 female roommates in fighting over a potential boyfriend that shows up, and the fact that would not be the provision of a single occupancy or single sex occupancy that could generate a discrimination complaint. And we'll be working with the Senate to address some of the broadness, or hoping to really refine what those discrimination complaints can be. So those are the 2 bills dealing with that. Next, we have 4 DEI bills that have worked their way through the process in some form during the first half. Those bills are House Bill 618, 635, 638, and 663. I'll take the first 2 as a duo. House Bill 618 and 635 they're brought forward by Representative George Nikolakakos as sort of a companion pair of bills. These bills broadly define what DEI is and then would prohibit the state from funding any DEI programs or trainings. House Bill 618 had a different provision added that would have included a provision that would also prohibit the state from contracting with any companies that maintain DEI policies. Should that bill have actually passed, that would have meant that the state could no longer have contracted with Zoom, and it would have made this meeting very difficult. But the amendment, the biggest concern, though, for us was an amendment that was added to House Bill 635 in the Judiciary Committee. And what that amendment did is it incorporated a provision to allow violations of this act to be sent to the Attorney General for investigations or hearings and possible prosecution in district court. as well as allowing for a private course of action for anyone who felt adversely affected by any violations to that act. The litigation potentials through both of these bills were through the roof, and some of the constitutionality of them were also in question. As it turns out, House Bill 618 was tabled in House Administration Committee, and House Bill 635 ultimately failed on third reading on the last day, third reading in the House on the last day before transmittal. Both of these bills were opposed by the Department of Administration, Department of Labor and Industry, OCHI, and a long line of disability community members in Montana. There are two remaining DEI bills that both look as if they will be passing: House Bill 638 and 663. House Bill 638 would prohibit government agencies from requiring or requesting diversity statements or granting preferential treatment if a statement is submitted. And House Bill 663 would prohibit the Montana University system from considering race in admissions or in financial aid decisions. Since the Montana University system does not have any policies or practices related to race-based admissions or diversity statements, there really won't be any impact to statement, and no changes would be required if either of these bills passed. OCHI was neutral on both of these bills, and I will note that in House Bill 663, the sponsor did hand out Deputy Commissioner, or the Chief Legal Counsel's memo indicating that we were already in compliance with the bill, which did prompt some questions from the committee about the need for the bill, but nevertheless, the bill has passed out of committee and through the House. Moving on, the next really big issue lands in the Senate, and there were two Senate bills attempting to define separation of powers. Those were Senate Bill 44 and Senate Bill 476. Senate Bill 44 was a very broad attempt to limit the executive and judicial branch authority to what is assigned by statute, while Senate Bill 476 was a very slimmed down version of Senate Bill 44. And effectively what the sponsor did was amend out every other agency except for the Board of Regents, and would have attempt to apply the authority to just statutory authority to just the Board of Regents. The sponsor of both these bills was Senator Emmerich. Both bills ultimately did pass out of committee, but were both tabled and both indefinitely tabled by the Senate on second reading. And then finally, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, a couple of bills I wanted to spotlight to show some of the work we're doing in collaborating with some of our partners across the system. First, House Bill 718 will create an Office of Reentry Services within the Department of Labor and Industry. This will allow multiple state agencies to coordinate support services for people that are leaving incarceration or are in pre-release. Labor and Industry, OCHI, Department of Commerce, Department of Health, Justice, and the Office of Public Instruction will all be partnering with this bill to continue transition planning and housing assistance, dealing with food security and job training to ensure that, and also to ensure that if a degree or training program was started while you were incarcerated, that you will be able to continue to complete that upon your release. This is a great bill. Lots of agencies working on it as we attempt to address recidivism rates in Montana. And then finally, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioner, House Bill 823 is an effort to expand the Perkins State Plan Committee to include participation by SWIB board members, that's the State Workforce Innovation Board housed within the Department of Labor and Industry, and also to include some labor representatives on the Perkins Committee. And working together with OPI and the Governor's Office and Department of Labor and Industry, this really will help us to elevate our CTE programs in Montana, to draw some more attention to them and to make sure that our workforce is ready to meet the needs of our modern economy. With that, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, that is the update of the policy initiatives. But looking forward, members of the board, those regions that are looking towards confirmation, I do have news to report there. Just yesterday, the LC numbers for your confirmations have finally appeared on the board. LC 4431, 4432, 4433 will be applied. I don't know who's assigned to which bill number yet, but those LCs are currently in editing, which means that they should be popping out probably tomorrow as bill numbers, or maybe even later today. But that indeed means that they are finally moving forward with the confirmation process for many of the governor's appointments. So we're happy to see that. And I would expect that the committees would begin to schedule those within the next couple of weeks. That, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioner, that's the report.
Thank you, sir. I feel like you need to go to the sideline and get oxygen. Any questions from members of the board?
I think only a comment, maybe in the spirit of your recognition of just the breadth of activity that your office has been undergoing, having sat through in person a couple of these committee meetings. Just again, a big thank you to the OCHI staff, the coordinated approach, the collaborative approach with our legislative partners. It's just so obvious that we are carrying shared policy agenda items that matter to this legislature, and hence the support that you're articulating is not a surprise. Wonderful work to your staff.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, if I could follow up, Chair Buchanan. I'd like to point out that, the board is very aware of the incredible amount of uncertainty, particularly at the federal level. And I think that, everyone should be aware that we've all been involved making calls to our legislators, both at the federal and state level. And that I think Commissioner Christian has done an incredible job of coordinating a lot of our efforts. We have as much uncertainty as all of you, but there is a human element to it that everyone in the system is facing. And I just wanted to reemphasize that we're doing the best we can to get the best information, from the public side and from our contacts to help alleviate the uncertainty that everyone faces. And I want to compliment Chair Buchanan and Commissioner Christian for, really leading those efforts.
Thank you, Regent Bell. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll encourage everyone to read the campus reports. It's the next bullet item on our agenda. As always, they're posted. They're very informative. And then lastly, Mr. Chair, before I turn it back to you, we have a few introductions that are in order. So start with a couple here at OCHI. I believe Executive Director Devant has one.
I do.
Please.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, on behalf of Executive Director of Healthcare and Benefits, Mary Lockenbrook, and myself, I'm excited to introduce Karen Wood, who's sitting to my right here. She is the new Associate Director of Employee Wellbeing. With support of the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner Bovingdon, we were able to establish this position, and this position mirrors the Associate Director of Student Wellbeing. In general, Karen will amplify the already existing services offered in our Employee Assistance Program to enhance the mental and emotional well-being of MUS employees. Currently, our utilization for our EAP is hovering around 2%, so we brought her on board in hopes of increasing that utilization rate. It's a service we're already paying for, and so we want to boost utilization. Specifically, she will provide warm handoffs to services to meet personal and professional needs, provide crisis support, conflict management support, and executive guidance. Karen will be located here in Helena, so please don't hesitate to reach out and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Karen. Yeah. Deputy Commissioner Teal.
Thank you, Commissioner Christian. As luck would have it, Karen's counterpart is going to be Amber Spring, who joined OCHI earlier this week as our new Associate Director of Student Wellbeing. She's going to work with Director Christine Miller, who you know well. Amber's transitioning to the system role after 20 years of service to the university system. She's worked at UM, at MSU, and most recently at MSU Northern, where she's served in a clinical capacity as their Director of Counseling. Amber's work is going to continue some of our system efforts to enhance student mental health, student well-being, suicide prevention, a lot of the planning and data collection work that we've started, seeing how we can extend that and improve upon that, supporting our bid and care teams or student affairs teams that help students in crisis, enhancing trainings, and really just being a resource to the variety of teams and communities trying to care for students across the state so that they can succeed in their academic efforts. And I know she's going to work very, very closely with Carrie and Karen in this new role. Welcome, Amber.
Welcome. Yeah, thank you. Members of the board, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Stacy Sherwin as the interim president of Salish Kootenai College. SKC Board of Directors announced Dr. Sherwin's appointment at the end of January. She earned her PhD in educational administration from the University of Nebraska and has been with SKC for more than 30 years. Dr. Sherwin will serve in this capacity while the board continues to search for a permanent president, but welcome her to the table and to the collaborative efforts we have with all the tribal colleges. Look forward to working together. And then we have at MSU Billings, Chancellor Hickswa, I believe you are online for an announcement for Billings. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner Christian. Chair Buchanan, members of the board, it is my pleasure to let you know that Dan Carter has been named the director of our university communications and marketing. He began on the 6th of January, and he comes to us from Parr, Montana, which was formerly ExxonMobil, where he served as the Public and Governmental Affairs Manager for Montana Assets from 2013 to 2025. When he was there, he managed all of the community outreach for them and their involvement. He was in charge of targeted marketing, internal and external communications, as well as governmental relations. He has a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism from the University of Montana. And for those of you who have been in the system a while, you'll remember this is the second time he has had a role at MSUB. From 2004 to 2013, he served as our Director for University Relations. So please join me in welcoming Dan Carter back to MSUB. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. And yes, I have been around long enough to welcome him back. Chair Buchanan, that completes the commissioner's report. Thank you for all of your indulgence and time. Busy time at Ochi, but good work going on, and we appreciate all the support from all of you on the board. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Yeah, real quick, thanks to Karen and Amber for joining the Ochi team. Welcome. This is the pace that we anticipate for you guys, the onboarding during the legislative session. This is a great way to get a feel for what we're doing. To Dr. Sherwin, welcome. We look forward to working with you. And like you, Commissioner, had a lot of fun and learned a lot working with Dan Carter over the years back in the early 2000s. Welcome back there. I just would echo Regent Bow's comments. I know you as board members individually have been pulled to weigh in and help with some of these messaging efforts, and you've offered and been very effective in doing that. And I think that's, again, reflective of the type of commitment that you each make to this organization. My final summary comments are consistent with Clay's comments. Boy, you guys are busy and we appreciate it. And the halfway point, my expectation is we're probably going to pick up the pace. And again, to front end with a big thank you to you guys. Keep us posted as to where we can help you lead in. I've been talking about great partners. Mr. Klappmeyer, I see you joined us this morning. Thank you again for making the time. And we look forward to any remarks that you might have representing the governor.
Thank you, Chair Buchanan and Regents. I appreciate all the timely federal and state updates this morning. It's information's moving fast, both in Helena and in DC. So the staff over there are doing a great job of keeping everyone up to date. I do want to start by welcoming Superintendent Hoyer to the board. Similar to how the governor appointed President Slinger to the Board of Public Education, he believes it's important to have a K-12 voice on the Regents to foster collaboration, not only between the two boards, but between the K-12 and post-secondary systems in Montana as a whole. Regent Hoyer's long tenure with Great Falls Public Schools is going to make her a tremendous asset to this board. She's been a successful leader in Great Falls, not only for her schools, but the community as a whole. Most importantly, the governor was impressed with the work she's done to advance work-based learning and dual credit for her students in partnership with Great Falls College up there. So just welcome to the board, Regent Hoyer, and we appreciate your willingness to serve on this incredibly important state board. Like most of your staff there at OCHI, my updates are very few outside of the legislative session that's consuming most of our time right now. The bills that we're tracking in the governor's office are largely in the K-12 sphere, especially on the policy front. Although we, understand that OCHI's got a lot of big funding bills out there and some policy bills that you're monitoring as well. But I do want to circle back to my remarks back in January and start with that bill. We had Senate Bill 210 by Senator Fuller. That was the bill that I spoke with you about to remove the statutory requirement for a student regent. I do have to admit failure on that one. The Montana Associated Student Lobbyists did a really good job of making their case in front of the Senate Education Committee. And that bill was tabled. So we'll look forward to working with the Mass student reps this spring to identify another student regent through our regular process that we've been using over the years. Another bill that I wanted to highlight that the governor is supporting and that Deputy Commissioner Hollenbaugh referenced as well is House Bill 300. That bill protects girls and women's sports and private spaces, both at the K-12 and post-secondary level, by giving women a legal route to file a discrimination suit if their rights are violated by biological men. The reason I think this bill is important is some of the other topics that Deputy Commissioner Hollenbaugh touched on, which is that the Trump administration did rescind the previous administration's Title IX changes, and the NCAA has updated their policies on this topic as well. And I know that the commissioner and Allie and the rest of the staff there at OCHI are doing a great job of getting updated guidance sent out to the campuses. So we appreciate that as this evolves. As we work to learn more about some of these federal changes that are coming, many of which are necessary, I just want to give a shout out as well to the commissioner's comments that, as state education leaders, we really should lead with positivity and do the best we can to get the facts out there to our constituents. There's a lot circling out there in the media and by some third-party groups that are opposed to these changes wholesale. And so it's really important for us to just get the facts out there to our constituents. So I appreciate the commissioner's comments. And I know that Superintendent Hedlund made similar comments to the Board of Public Education earlier this week on that front. Just on the funding side, it looks like Section E has been going very well for both the post-secondary and K-12 systems. You've got a good group of legislators to work with there on Section E. There's some funding bills that I know our office and other state officials have flagged for the Senate. The STARS Act, which among other things increases teacher pay and further expands dual credit and work-based learning. That has moved over to the Senate, and so we're encouraging it to move quickly to the governor's desk so he can get it signed. It involves a lot of interagency collaboration from OPI, OCHI, DLI, and local school districts. And so the faster we can get that bill signed by the governor, the quicker you guys can work on implementing it. And then as Deputy Commissioner Hollenbaugh said, we are starting to see some confirmations getting scheduled. And so as soon as those confirmation bills get scheduled for Regents Mortensen, Hoyer, and Dean, we'll work with you guys to make sure that not only do you three have adequate time to prepare, but that we've got some supporters there for you as well. And let's see. About 20 bills so far have made their way to the governor's desk for action, but not any education specific ones. And so it's been a little bit of a slow start with the bills coming in, but I imagine after transmittal this week, we'll start to see quite a few more bills making their way to the governor's desk for him to take action on. And with that, Mr. Chair, I don't have any additional updates, but I'm happy to take any feedback or comments and appreciate the opportunity to give an update.
Thanks, Mr. Klottmeyer. Any comments or questions for Mr. Klottmeyer? Well, as usual, thank you for the great update and the partnership, and please express to the governor how grateful we are for his support of our budget. And as we go through the second half of this session, where you feel we can lean in to support our shared policy goals, we're ready to do it. Thanks so much for joining us today, Mr. Kottmeyer. We appreciate it. Superintendent Hedlund, I understand you've joined us in the last half hour, so thank you so much for being here this morning. We're looking forward to any of your observations, comments related to the legislative session or any of our partnerships. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Buchanan and members of the board. I just want to say I appreciate the warm welcome. The commissioner and his team invited me early on before entering the office even to come in and start collaborating. I am just really excited to this partnership. I think that we have a great opportunity for getting a lot accomplished together, and am very excited about the work that we'll be able to do together. For those of you that don't know me, I just wanted to give a quick background. I've been a teacher, principal, and superintendent in our rural schools to our AA districts across the state of Montana. I was actually in the rural cohort at MSU for school leaders. And I also got my certificate in Native American Studies at MSU, but I did attend U of M and Helena College of Technology at one point. So I am a product of your great work and systems, and love any chance I get to participate in the work going on at the universities. And I also have collaborated with our tribal colleges and community colleges across the state. I just got back from the Board of Public Education this week, and Christy Steinberg was there, where we partner on accreditation. And so that was excellent. We also have Dr. Slinger on the board, and I am excited for Regent Hoyer to be joining you. And so we have that K-12 conduit as well. She's fantastic. So this will be great. I want to share just a few areas that I'm excited that we've already started to partner on. Right now we have Power School in town. I know you guys have been involved in the data modernization project, and I'm happy to announce that we're turning in a new direction, and OPI is looking forward to sharing our data. I know how powerful data is, and that we can really utilize this to improve our student outcomes. So we are a willing partner. We are revamping, and so we are going to be in data modernization all day and evening and tomorrow. So I'll be leaving you guys to get onto that work here shortly. But I really want to dig in to see, for example, we've been talking a lot about students that have to take remedial math. So what is the pathway for those students? Is there a way that we can look at the data and see where their grades are, which classes they're taking, or the students that are successful, what is that pathway? So we're excited to get to work with you on student data. We've also been talking about collaborating on assessments, and I've been meeting regularly with Dr. McLean and our Deputy Superintendent Ron Whitmore to talk about continuing the ACT. I did request funding for that in my budget, as you know, as well as funding to support math teachers, especially in middle school, to earn some kind of a math certificate or get a start on their master's degree for that higher or more in-depth content knowledge. And so I appreciate you guys supporting my work and efforts to advocate for that funding. You did a great job covering the legislative updates, so I won't go into all of that. You guys have pretty well covered it. And I also talked to Dr. McLean and Joe Tillman about doing a P20 newsletter, so we can really just show us working together and get that information out. I think that'll be a great opportunity. And then with the advanced opportunities through the STARS, if that passes, we have even more opportunity to partner and make sure our students have the opportunity to earn that college credit and really build that up in high school through dual enrollment. And we are excited about that. So as far as I'll give a brief federal update as far as that goes. I just want to mention that the Assistant Secretary nominee, Kirsten Baszler, is my counterpart in North Dakota. She was the superintendent in North Dakota for many years, and she's great. She truly understands our landscape, and I think she'll be a great advocate for us there. I'm in direct communication with her, so if I can help get you guys any information or do any reach out, please let me know. I have been talking to her and making sure that we're advocating for the programs that are critical to our schools in the K-12 realm, such as Title, IDEA for special ed, Carl Perkins, which we both work with, those kinds of programs, just making sure that they understand how important those are to our schools in Montana. And at this time, we've received no indication of any funding cuts to those programs, just that they will be transferred to the state. We are hopeful that this will mean more dollars going directly to our schools and students. Although I understand and am sympathetic to the staff that maybe losing their positions, as you guys have already mentioned. I have heard just from a couple so far from the Department of Education. And this time we have no major impact with the programs that have been cut at the K-12 level. We have 3 staff out of, over 200 that have partial funding tied to some grants, 1 research position, as you were talking about, and a foods grant that was just an addition that we think we'll be able to fill in the gaps. So we're really encouraging the schools or anyone to reach out to us if they have a program or a grant or anything that they've received notification on will be impacted, so we can see how we can support and backfill that work. So we're remaining hopeful and positive about this. I will be in Washington, D.C. with CCSSO, the state chiefs from all over the nation, the last week of the month. And I look forward to taking that opportunity to once again advocate for the programs that are critical to us and get more updates. So we do have a meeting set up with the new secretary, and I've reached out to Kirsten as well and look forward to hearing from the new leadership at the Department of Education while I'm there. So if there's anything I can advocate for on your behalf or request information on, please let me know. And one last thing, I have also been talking to you guys about working together to meet with the EPPs across the state and talk about how we can collaborate and just really work together on preparing our future educators. So thank you for the incredible work you guys do. You're a great board, and I appreciate your support and willingness to welcome me and get to work together.
Thank you, Superintendent Hedlund. Any comments or questions for our colleague?
Mr. Chair, just also extend our thank you. It's been a privilege and a pleasure already. We look forward to the work we can do together moving forward. There's a tremendous opportunity for K-12, but maybe 9-12 and higher education to work much closer together. And we're looking forward for what the future brings. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I would agree. No grass growing under your feet. We appreciate it, Superintendent Hedlund.
Yeah.
So much. Mr.
Chair, that's a long story. Or paint growing under your feet. That's attributed to Ted. We can go back to that later, but thank you for all you're doing. Mr. Chair, if I could, not on the agenda, but if we're done with that piece, could I add one item I'd like to discuss before you go to the budget committee?
Yeah, of course. And as we wrap up with Superintendent Hedlund, I particularly want to thank you in moving forward the data modernization effort. That's long been a top priority for us. I think from the day Regent Southworth has joined us, it's been a point of priority that's been voiced in every meeting. And so as we see that effort, you're meeting a long time hope and desire of ours to collaborate even closer. And that's just one great example of the partnership you refer to. So thank you again for joining us and for all the work that you're doing advocating on behalf of the state of Montana. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I can just add one note to that, we are truly excited about that. And like I said, I'm gonna leave if that's okay with you and head over to get to work with the team. We are really trying to build up the staff we have to get this done and get this accomplished, and really want to be a willing and good participant. So we're looking forward to changing that narrative and getting the information out and working with schools and It's exciting. So we have Power School here. You guys are always all welcome to stop by as well. So
Thank you. And we would have to echo your commitment to partnership at any point where we can help you lean in on your initiatives. Please keep us posted. And thanks for taking time to join us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
You bet. Yeah, Commissioner Christian, take over. We'll next go to the budget committee, but we definitely have time to review.
Thank you. I appreciate that. In the theme of things moving quickly, a couple updates on the search front that have sort of come to be in the last few days. Under Deputy Commissioner Trevor's leadership at Montana Tech, they did yesterday select 2 individuals to come to a finals round at the Montana Tech campus. And those interviews, lots of opportunity for the campus and the public to participate will be the 24th and 25th of March. So that's moving along. We think it will culminate in a hire. Appreciate Region Southward's efforts on that front as well. But we're looking forward to those interviews and the likely culmination of a hire for new chancellor at Montana Tech. Second item on the Montana State front, we have done the off-site interviews with a number of candidates. We have not selected the finalists, but we are very close. I think that will happen within the next day or two. And once that sort of final decision is made and offers extended, we will bring those individuals to the Montana State campus for conversation, including some conversations with the affiliate campuses on the MSU side as well. So looking forward to that process. Lots of things up in the air, including availability of candidates and all those things, but we still anticipate that process will play out the last week of March, potentially going into the first part of April, just due to some conflicts. As you all know, a very busy campus. So we have some events happening on campus that we're trying to schedule everything around too. But likely we will get some decisions made on both of those fronts within the next several weeks. Mr. Chair, sorry, I forgot about it earlier, but thought it was worth getting on the record here, in particular that there will be opportunities for the public to participate in both those searches the last week of March, first few days of April.
Yeah, no apologies needed at all. Thank you for your leadership, and it's a great segue to pass the agenda to Chair Dombrowski of the Budget Committee, who I know not only managing the broad work of our Budget Committee, you've served on the search committee for the MSU search. Appreciate that, Joyce, very much. And with that, we'll pass the microphone to the Budget Committee. Chair Dombrowski.
Thank you, Chair Buchanan. Good morning, everyone. I do have to say that participating on the search committee for MSU has been a great process, and I want to acknowledge Commissioner Christian's work and sort of herding cats, which it probably is part of his work all of the time, but in this case has done it as well as he always does. And I think the process has been firmly identified, firmly prescribed, and has worked as one would anticipate. So just wanted to acknowledge your work, Commissioner Christian, on really behalf of myself and the Regents.
Thank you.
As to the Budget Committee, I would say this has been the easiest Budget Committee cycle that I have participated in my tenure, mostly perhaps because so much of the great work that Galen and others have identified and has done in certainly in the legislature. And I know Deputy Commissioner Tyler Trevor is very much behind a lot of that success. And we will get to work once a legislature is done to crafting the budget that will need to be presented in May. And that really is the heavy lift. So today, there are a few items to discuss. I would welcome Regent Hoyer to the Budget Committee and appreciate that you have participated in this really, I would say, brief part of our work. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tyler, please, to go through the very few items on our agenda.
Thank you, members of the board and Chair Dombrowski. I'm going to quickly pass baton to our Deputy of Facilities Planning, as Dan Stevenson.
All right.
Take us through the items.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Trevor. The action items before you today, Madam Chair and members of the board, are all three in the spirit of taking care of what we have throughout the system. The first being a request for authorization to perform major maintenance repairs for Paisley Court student apartments at Montana State University. Montana State is requesting to spend up to $3.5 million. And this project is focused on exterior upgrades to the Paisley Court complex. For those of you not familiar, the complex is a complex of 90 apartments constructed in 1985. Deputy Commissioner Trevor and I had vigorous conversations about what year it was constructed. We were both around about then. And he was more right than I was. So we're going to replace the window siding and exterior system upgrades like repointing bricks, so on and so forth. This work is proposed to be paid for using physical plant funds from auxiliary revenue accounts. Any questions on this particular item? All right. Seeing no questions, we'll move on to the next. The next item is also a request from Montana State University to renovate classrooms. Montana State is requesting to spend up to $2 million to renovate classrooms. And in particular, we're talking about 5 major classrooms, all located in buildings that are beyond 50 years in age. So they're classrooms that need all of the typical finish and technology improvements that might happen. Oh, and I should say that this work was previously authorized both legislatively as authority only and by the Board of Regents in 2021. The work did not proceed because it was hindered by the supply chain issues that resulted post-pandemic. So this item is before you as being consistent with the requirement to reauthorize work after a 3-year expiration of the authority. I'll pause for questions on this item. All right, seeing none, I will continue. Finally, we go to University of Montana, Missoula, asking for authorization for a phase 1 remodel of Jesse Hall. Jesse Hall is an auxiliary building. I should state that U of M is requesting to spend up to $2 million on Jesse Hall. Jesse Hall is an auxiliary building with 396 beds in the residence hall, totaling about 88,000 square feet. The work that we're looking at here focuses on upgrades of the common areas in the building, those being the corridors, improvements, replacement of the ceilings and lighting systems that are quite antiquated, getting those hallways refinished with paint. And then one of the most important parts of this work is getting an emergency generator installed on one of the 3 elevators in the building to be able to ensure adequate egress from the building, especially for those occupants that may have a disability or otherwise not be able to exit through a stairway. This work would also be funded through auxiliary funds, housing and renewal and replacement funds at U of M. Any questions on this particular item? All right, well, thank you so much. And I stand available if you reconsider the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. I think that really wraps up the Budget Committee work for this year. So I'll turn it back to you, Regent Buchanan. Chair Buchanan.
Dombrowski, I'm sorry?
I said Chair Buchanan, sorry.
No problem at all. Chair Dombrowski, thank you. Good work. So due to the online format today, we've changed our voting process a little. Before we adjourn, we'll jump into voting on the items that were just reviewed. So we'll start with consent agenda. Would any member of this board like to pull an item off of the consent agenda before we take a vote? Seeing none, I would accept a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thanks, Regent Bao. Great. Any discussion from members of the board on the consent agenda? Campuses, any discussion? Any public comment on the consent agenda?
There is not.
Thanks, Jasmine. Seeing no further comment, we'll call for the vote. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same call. Thank you. Consent agenda passes. Mr. Stephenson, thank you for outlining action items A through C. We'll start with action item A. Is there, I would entertain a motion on action item A.
So moved.
Thanks, Regent Dombrowski. Any discussion from members of the board on this item? Campuses, any discussion or comments? Public comment? Jasmine, any public comment out there?
There is not.
Thank you. We'll see no further comment. We'll call for the vote. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Thank you. Action item A passes. I will entertain a motion to approve action item B, a request for authorization to renovate classrooms in Bozeman.
So moved.
Thanks, Regent Southworth. Any discussion from members of the board? Campuses, any further discussion? Public comment. Jasmine, any public comment this morning?
There is not.
Thank you. Seeing no further comment, we'll call for the vote. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Opposed, same. Action item B passes. I would entertain a motion to vote on action item C, a request for authorization to remodel Jesse Hall.
So moved.
Great, thank you, Regent Dombrowski. Any discussion from members of the board? Campuses, any discussion? Jasmine, any public comment there?
There is not.
Thank you, and thank you for doing that. Seeing no further discussion or comments, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of supporting action item C, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Action item C passes. Excellent. That does wrap that up. Thank you again, Chair Dombrowski, for your leadership on this committee. Appreciate it. We will adjourn from the Budget Committee and jump right into the Academic Research and Student Affairs Committee. Regent Bao, Chairman Bao, I pass the microphone to you.
Thank you, Chairman Buchanan. I'd like to thank my fellow board members, Regent Folkvord and Regent Mortensen. Kind of a light agenda on this one, but we'll start with the consent items.
Regent Bao, I can dive into these consent items just briefly. As is usually the case, we have a good number of emeriti faculty items on the consent agenda. Here you have 9 candidates who in total have provided 285 years of service to the university system. Included in the list, and I won't go through all of them, but folks who established some institutions in our state, including longtime supporters of WWAMI, the UM Fire Center, other research centers, institutes across the MUS. Key faculty who've led and developed those institutions, supported students for many, many, many years. Take an average period of service of 30 years across this list. Also on this list is one tenure item. This is tenure upon hire for the new Dean of the University of Montana College of Health. All of the items on the consent agenda have been reviewed at the campus level, reviewed at the OT level by HR and academic leadership, and are recommended to you for approval.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Teal. And I think it's important to note, I think you calculated that there are 285 years of service among the Emeriti faculty, which is pretty remarkable among that group. And we thank them for what they've built over the past 25, 30 years. Moving on next to our action items, the honorary doctorates from University of Montana, Missoula. I would ask President Bodnar to introduce his two candidates.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am greatly excited and honored to present two just extraordinary individuals for honorary doctorates at the University of Montana this spring. And first is Steve Rinella. So many of you know Steve's impact as an author, an outdoorsman, a wild foods enthusiast, a conservationist, someone who's not only had a tremendous impact on our state. He's an award-winning author, more than a dozen books, audiobooks on hunting, conservation, wild cuisine, American history. He's somebody who has this unique ability, to capture the attention of public audiences through just superb storytelling, and curates voices from across fields and different areas of experience, and has just had a tremendous impact on our public's understanding of conservation, wildlife, land use policy, American cultural studies. He's someone who has had a tremendous impact and also shown the value of an MUS degree. He is a graduate from the University of Montana with a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Nonfiction. And he's just shown the impact that one can have coming from the Montana University system. Makes his home here in Montana, in the Bozeman area, and just continues to have a tremendous impact, again, not just on our state, but nationally and internationally through his Meteor Incorporated franchise, and someone who just exemplifies the impact of the Montana University system. So it is with tremendous excitement and honor that I present Mr. Steve Rinella for your consideration to award an honorary doctorate of forestry and conservation. If
Thank
that's
you, President
okay.
Bodnar. And I think the way this will structure this is that, am I right, Chairman Buchanan, that we'll vote on these all at the end?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yep.
Great. So President
All
Bodnar,
right.
you can continue with your second honorary doctorate candidate.
And again, it's we have just another incredible individual who's known, I believe, to many of you and to so many across our great state, who's a native son of Montana, and that is Mr. Eric Sprunk. Eric's life and business career have brought and just continue to bring great pride to the University of Montana. He graduated from the University of Montana in 1986, but I know if Eric were here, he would also emphasize the importance of graduating before coming to the University of Montana, being a proud Hellgate Knight. And he just initially put his degree to work at Price Waterhouse, and then in the early 90s began nearly a 3-decade career at Nike, rising eventually to become the chief operating officer of just one of our country's most iconic companies. Served in that role from 2013 until his retirement in 2020. He continues to serve many high-profile businesses as well as nonprofits. From a board standpoint, companies like Nordstrom, General Mills, Bombardier, Providence, the UN Refugee Agency. Eric's life has been one of incredible impact, but also tremendous service. He truly has a servant heart. He's been a dedicated philanthropist, not just for the University of Montana, but for entities across our great state. Eric's received the Distinguished Alumni Award in 2014, and just has been one of those individuals who is always ready to serve and always ready to lend a hand when it's needed. I will note, as a point of just as an example of Eric's commitment to service. As you know, the honorary doctorates give the commencement address for their specific ceremony. This will actually be the second time that Eric's given the commencement address at the University of Montana, pending your approval. Because when I arrived at the university in 2018 and I asked about our plan for commencement, we didn't have one. We needed a speaker. And so in about February, March, I was looking through our lists of distinguished individuals, and I called Eric Sprunk, who rearranged his calendar to be there to give an address to our graduating seniors. And it was only after Eric accepted the invitation that I said, oh, by the way, you have to give the speech twice because we have two ceremonies. And he willingly did so. And I tell that story because it's just a good example of the servant heart and the humility that Eric has, amidst his incredible success as a business leader. He is always willing to pitch in and do whatever is needed. So it is my honor to present for your consideration for an honorary doctorate of business, Mr. Eric Sprunk.
Thank you, President Bodnar. I know the committee was excited by both candidates, and we appreciate your introductions for them.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have honorary doctorate candidates from Montana State University, and I believe President Cruzado is traveling. So, as I understand, Provost Makwa will be handling the introductions.
Thank you, Chair Bao. Yes, it's my honor to be able to present two honorary doctorate degree candidates from Montana State University on behalf of President Cruzado, who is traveling back from Boise as we speak. Montana State University requests the Regents' approval to confer an honorary degree to Morton Meyerson to be awarded at our commencement ceremony in spring of 2025. Mr. Meyerson was recommended by the MSU Honorary Degree Committee, and the Faculty Senate of MSU voted in favor of his honorary degree recommendation. Morton Meyerson received a Bachelor's of Art in 1961 in Economics and Philosophy from UT Austin, and in 2025 was a recipient of the Distinguished Alumnus Award. After college, Mr. Meyerson became an officer in the Army, serving 2 years in active duty and 6 years in the active reserves. Mr. Meyerson is a respected entrepreneur, business leader, philanthropist, humanist, and proud American. He's an avid supporter of the arts, most notably with the Dallas Symphony Center being named in his honor. He was elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences as a fellow in 2007. Mr. Meyerson is a tireless advocate for the land grant mission, investing in scholarships to advance a better future for the youth, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds. Mr. Meyerson is both a highly successful and distinguished business leader and a dedicated philanthropist. During his many years living in Montana, he provided the impetus, networks, investment, and mentorship to fuel the development and to help fund the MSU Hillman Scholar Program. The Hillman Program would not have materialized without Mr. Meyerson. Not only did he provide the first scholarship funds for the Hillman Program, he actively gave his time, selflessly mentoring students and staff to achieve the program ideals. Over the course of the history of the Hillman Program, Mr. Meyerson provided hundreds of hours of consultation, mentoring support, and championing of the program. While his scholarship funds were an important catalyst, it was his mentorship and belief in the program that generated many of the results that are visible today. Suffice it to say, Morton Meyerson is a tenacious advocate for students in Montana. It's difficult to capture the impact Mr. Meyerson has had on tens of thousands of lives associated with his leadership in business, arts, philanthropy, and venture investment. Mr. Meyerson is a product and champion of the public land grant mission in its truest form. Awarding an honorary doctorate degree to Morton Meyerson would be a tremendous opportunity for the students, faculty, and staff of Montana State University to honor him with a degree at MSU's spring commencement ceremony. Thank you for this, for your thoughtful consideration of this request. The second request coming
Yeah,
from,
thank you, Provost Makwa. Please move on to the second.
thank you,
nominee.
Chair Bao. The second request coming from MSU to the Regents is approval to confer an honorary degree to Wendy Red Star to be awarded at our spring commencement ceremony as well. Ms. Red Star was recommended by the MSU Honorary Degree Committee, and the Faculty Senate of MSU voted in favor of this honorary degree recommendation. Wendy Red Star, an esteemed Crow contemporary artist, has made significant contributions to the fields of art, education, and cultural preservation, while maintaining a profound connection to her heritage and to the state of Montana. Wendy Red Star was raised in Pryor, Montana, on the Crow Reservation, and her cultural roots deeply inform her artistic practice. She's a proud alumna of Montana State University, where she earned her Bachelor's of Fine Arts degree in 2004 with an emphasis in sculpture and a minor in Native American Studies. She continued her academic work at the University of California, completing her Master of Fine Arts in 2006. Ms. Red Star's multidisciplinary work spans photography, sculpture, and multimedia, addressing themes of Native American identity, history, and representation. Her art offers powerful visual commentary that blends humor, irony, and imagery. Throughout her career, Wendy Red Star has earned numerous prestigious awards, including the MacArthur Fellowship, the Joan Mitchell Foundation Emerging Artist Fellowship, the Idle Yorg Contemporary Art Fellowship as well. Her work has been exhibited internationally in prominent institutions, such as the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Smithsonian National Museum of the American Indian, and the Portland Art Museum. These accolades reflect her exceptional creativity and her significant impact on the global artistic landscape. Wendy Red Star's remarkable contributions to art and culture, coupled with her dedication to education and community engagement, make her an exemplary candidate for this distinguished honor. An honorary doctorate from Montana State would not only recognize her outstanding achievements, but also affirm the university's commitment to celebrating and fostering cultural understanding. Wendy Red Star's legacy will continue to inspire and enrich communities worldwide, and it would be tremendous for the students, faculty, and staff of Montana State to honor Wendy Red Star with an honorary degree at MSU's Spring 2025 commencement ceremony. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration of this request.
Thank you, Provost Makwa. Also, two candidates that the committee was excited about. Unless there are any questions from the board, we'll move right on to our request to plan proposals. And we're starting with MSU Bozeman, so I'll ask Provost Makwa to lead us through the discussion of the two plan proposals for MSU Bozeman.
Thank you, Regent Bao. The first proposal that I will discuss, request a plan proposal, is a Bachelor's of Science in Optical and Photonics Engineering. The university proposes or seeks authorization for a 120 credit Bachelor's of Science degree in Optical and Photonic Engineering. This will be housed in the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at MSU. Some of you are aware that there's a large industry in the Gallatin Valley and throughout the state of Montana that fuels this field of optics and photonics. Currently at MSU, we have a range of degrees available to students, starting with an Associate of Applied Science in Optics and Laser Technology at Gallatin College, a minor in optics, and a Master's of Science in Optics and Photonics. So this Bachelor's of Science will solidify our offerings and provide students an opportunity for a strong education, a background in electrical engineering, physics, mathematics, and several other areas, multidisciplinary areas, and to provide them opportunities for very good paying jobs in the state of Montana. there's been a lot of work going on in multiple departments putting this program together. And I know our faculty are quite excited about moving in this direction. I'll pause there and see if there are any questions in particular about this requested plan.
Any questions from the board?
Okay. Hearing none, thank you. The second requested plan we have is for a Bachelor's of Science in Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering. As well is a multidisciplinary offering that addresses some emerging areas in the areas of agriculture that rely on data science, as well as electrical engineering, agriculture, and is in high demand in the state of Montana and is being requested by various industry groups in the state. There are two primary components or areas of emphasis in this program. One is in precision agriculture that includes autonomous systems as well as land and resource management. So these autonomous systems are things like automation, robotics, decision support systems, all fueled through a data science component. The second area is the agricultural process engineering. So that's about operations, by producing bio-based products, post-harvest processing. There's a high demand in the state of Montana, but also nationwide for expertise in this area. As well as a cross-disciplinary effort that involves faculty in civil engineering, land resources, environmental engineering, electrical and computer engineering, industrial engineering, as well as our various departments in the department or in the College of Agriculture. I'll pause for now and happy to answer any questions from the Regents on this requested plan.
Thank you, Provost Mockfall. I just say that the committee, was very excited about both these proposals. I think it's great to see requested plans in areas of strength for the university. Obviously, agriculture and the advancement of technology in agriculture is important to the state of Montana, important to our economy. And I think most people are aware that, optics, photonics, more options in that field it plays to the strength of where we see the biggest tech industry in Southwest Montana. And so more options and more students graduating with those degrees, again, will benefit the state of Montana significantly. Any other questions from board members? Hearing none, we'll move on to the requested plan proposals for the University of Montana, Missoula. And I believe that'll be Provost Lawrence today.
Thank you, Chair Bao. And thank you to members of the ARSA committee and the Board of Regents and members of OCHI, the team at OCHI. So I have the pleasure to present 4 requests to plan from UM. These are research centers and 1 institute. These are supported through extramural funding, both through philanthropic and grants and contracts. These research agendas are really driven by specialties that we have here in our faculty at the university. And they, if approved, these centers will be reviewed on a regular basis according to OCHI's timeline. So these are distinct from academic programs, which are typically supported by tuition and general fund and that have formal coursework. Rather, these centers are real areas of strength for us, and they are each presenting ideas that we're very, very excited about, some of which are well ingrained here at UM. So the first is the Center for Hunting and Conservation. This is supported through a partnership with the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. And as many of you know, hunting is a critical part of conservation and land management here in North America, and is particularly important in the state of Montana, where we have something like $100 million annually that come into the state through hunting and its impacts. So our graduates, particularly through wildlife biology, are employed across the sector. And we are very much looking forward to this partnership, which will, be driven through the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and our Franke College of Forestry and Conservation, with its range of academic strengths and programs, and of course, student and community interest. And I can pause there if there are questions about the Center for Hunting and Conservation.
Questions from any of the regions? Seeing none, Provost Lawrence, please move on to your second one. Thank you.
Thank you. The second request to plan is for the Institute for Positive Education. We've already been talking about potentially retitling that to more accurately capture the nature of the work that'll happen. So we're looking at the Center for the Advancement of Positive Education. This center would be supported through initially through a gift from the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation. And we would, of course, look for more sustainable funding after this initial gift through grants, contracts, and perhaps additional philanthropic gifts. So this center really proposes to move away from a deficit model of education that aims to fix people to a model that focuses on growth, strengths and skill building, and the cultivation of virtues, and how that has developed from research in positive psychology. So we're looking at this being a hub for the training of both pre-service and in-service teachers. And this would certainly happen in collaboration with our units within the PJW College of Education here at UM, but we would be delighted to collaborate with other programs and entities around the states. So I'm happy to entertain questions.
Seeing no questions, Provost Lawrence, you can move on to the Translational Research Center.
Okay. The third RTP proposal is for the Montana Clinical Translational Research Center. This already has NIH support, $500,000 a year for the next 5 years. And we are the only entity funded in the US West, and we are one of 4 funded nationally. So this center would serve as an incubator to serve the health of Montanans, particularly building clinical and translational research capacity to address health disparities across the state and improve the health outcomes of folks in communities. And this would especially attend to limited health access to specialty care in rural areas of the state. So I'm happy to answer any questions about this proposal too.
Seeing no questions from the Regents, Provost Lawrence, you can continue, please.
Wonderful. So our final request to plan is for the Montana Public Health Training Center. So our School of Public and Community Health began providing trainings to providers in 2019 in collaboration with the state health department. And they provided training to health departments around the state. And of course, this really ramped up during the COVID-19 pandemic. We have existing funding from the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services. And this center is really focused on providing technical assistance for prevention services to health departments across the state, emphasizing wellness, job creation, and other types of support. So I'm happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Sure, thank you, Provost Lawrence. We appreciate it. I'll say to the Regents that we discussed each of these in depth at the committee. We do agree with these proposals. We did focus on what the net impact would be on cost and administrative positions from these, and I think one area that we could ask Provost Lawrence to comment on is that there is quite a substantial amount of funding already secured for these positions. There's no net new add to administrators. So I think those were a couple of the issues that we covered most diligently at the committee level. Any questions from the Regents or follow-up requested?
I just have a comment, Regent Bao. That was helpful, that last couple of lines about the committee's work in looking at these. We don't always get the narrative, and so that comment was really helpful.
Provost Lurz, would you like to expand a little bit on that, on my comments with regard to the funding for these different?
Sure. Yeah, to sort of add to what you've already shared, Chair Bao, we would not have no net new administrators sort of running these centers. And, sustainability of funding is paramount for us. So these are all centers that would be supported through funding sources external to the university, to the general fund. And, as I said, we have a regular review cycle for all of the centers. And, if and when there is a time to sunset a center, we go ahead and do that. So these centers come to be in large part because of a need and because we have the expertise and can act on the need in order to serve the state. And that's exactly what these are.
Thank you. I think that was helpful, Provost Lawrence. Any additional questions or comments? Okay, then I think I'm turning this back over to Deputy Commissioner Teal for the academic approvals.
Thank you, Regent Bao, and this, I think, actually is a good follow-on from that discussion. Following from request to plan proposals, before those proposals are formally approved and centers are created or new academic programs stood up, there's a process of submitting detailed curriculum and more detailed financial and support and resource requirement information to the OG office for review, which is shared and discussed by chief academic officers across the state. This academic approval memo summarizes that second stage of this process, as well as smaller proposals that you have delegated to OG for review and approval. These are those approvals for November and January. And then if you'll indulge me, I'd like to just add one comment on to Superintendent Hedlund's report. We are so excited to be working, collaborating with her and her staff. One item that she mentioned was collaboration on math proficiency. Math proficiency was an item that you had a joint proposal with the Board of Public Education in the fall. We continue to work closely with the superintendent on ideas around where we can collaborate there. And I'm also excited to report that math and writing faculty from across the state are going to be gathering here in Helena later on this month to continue some of their work around math placement, around math remediation, and a renewed focus on math pathways. So assessing, do we have the right math content in our programs of study? Is that clear to students when they're coming in? How can we better align that with K-12 pathways? So I think some good work going on within the system, and I think some new and exciting collaborations with K-12 partners on that front. Regent Bao, that concludes my report.
Okay. Any questions for Deputy Commissioner Teal? Seeing none, I will turn for the vote. I will turn the committee back over to Chair Buchanan.
Appreciate that, Chair Bao, very much. And members of the ARSA committee, thank you for your work and your CRAP campuses. Thank you for your work on this. We'll start by reviewing and voting on the consent agenda. Any members of the board like to take any item off of the consent agenda before we consider it? Okay, seeing none, I would accept a motion to accept the consent agenda. Do we have a motion? Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Regent Bao. Any discussion from members of the board? Any discussion from campuses? Any public comment on the consent agenda?
There's not.
Thanks, Jasmine.
And just Chair Buchanan, the motion on that was Regent Southworth.
Oh, thank you, Regent Southworth. Thanks, Regent Bao, for the update. Seeing no further comment, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Same for anyone. All those opposed, same sign. All right, seeing none, the consent agenda passes. Moving to action item A, I would entertain a motion to approve action item A.
So moved.
Thank you very much, Regent Hoyer. Any discussion from members of the board? How about campuses? Any discussion on action item A? Any public comment on action item A?
There's not.
Thank you, Jasmine. Seeing no further comment, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of action item A, please signify by saying aye.
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 Same sign for those who oppose. Action item A passes. Thank you. I would accept a motion to vote on action item B.
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion from members of the board? Any further discussion from campuses? Jasmine, any public comment on this item?
There is not.
Thank you. Seeing no further comment, we'll call for the vote. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Excellent, thank you. Action item B passes. We'll entertain a motion to accept action item C.
So moved.
Thank you, Regent Hoyer. Any discussion from members of the board? Campuses, any further discussion on action item C? Jasmine, any public comment on action item C?
There is not.
Thank you. Seeing no further comment, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Action item C passes. Thank you very much. I'll now entertain a motion to approve action item D.
So moved.
Thanks, Regent Dombrowski. Any comments or discussion from members of the board? How about campuses? Any further discussion? Jasmine, any public comment on this item?
There's not.
Thank you. With that, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of action item D, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Action item D passes. Thank you very much. Our final action item for the day is action item E. I would entertain a motion to approve action item E.
So moved.
Excellent. Thank you both. Any discussion from members of the board? Any discussion from campuses? How about public comment? Jasmine, any in there?
There's not.
Mr. Chair, can you clarify who the motion was made by?
I believe it was Regent Southworth and Regent Hoyer. Is that right? Kind of simultaneous. Is that good, Clay?
Sure. Yeah, it'll work. Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you. Okay, see no further discussion. Did we just pass? I don't think we have. Did we just did not check it off? Did we complete action item E? I don't think we did. No. See no further comment. We'll vote on action item E. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Regent Bao, excellent work. That concludes the committee work for the day. We'll adjourn from the ARSA committee. Again, thanks to everybody on that committee, board, staff, campuses for the hard work there. We appreciate it. A couple of mandatory items before we adjourn to executive session. Is there any public comment? Since this is a public comment, we would now call for any public comment. Public comment may be offered on items on this meeting's agenda or on any matter, not on the agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the Board of Regents. If you're unable to participate in today's Zoom call, written public comment may also be sent to Jasmine Casanovas, jcasanovas@montana.edu. Her email is at the bottom of the screen for those who are watching. To allow us to give everyone a chance to comment, please limit those comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment today? Any public comment?
Mr. Chair, I think we have President Cruzado online.
Public comment. President Cruzado, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Regent, and members of the board. Sorry, I was caught in the travel back from Boise. I just wanted to say welcome, Regent Hoyer. Delighted to have you as a member of the Board of Regents. I also wanted to thank the Regents for their approval of our honorary doctorates, which are exemplary candidates, and also of our emeriti faculty. Just wanted to say thanks a lot, and go Cats.
Thank you. Thanks for the public comment, President Cruzado. Any other public comment? Jasmine, I think I've called for it 3 times. Do we have any other public comment?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That will close the public comment section. The final potential action for us as a board today is the appeal. The next item on our agenda is the consideration of an appeal. We have each received the commissioner's decision and the written appeal with supporting documents submitted by the campus and the appellant. The issue before the board for the appeal is whether to consider the appeal at a later meeting. Our appeal policy does not require us to accept an appeal if we are satisfied with the commissioner's review and decision. The sole question is whether any regent believes the issues addressed in the commissioner's decision needs further review by the board. If you do not wish to hear the appeal at the board level, it is not necessary to make a motion. A lack of action on our part will signify our decision not to hear the case. The appeal is confidential. The board will not address the individual involved by name, identify the campus involved, or discuss the facts or specific issues. Any questions to this procedure before we consider the appeal? Thank you. I will entertain a motion to hear the appeal before the board. If you wish to move the appeal, please do not name the appellant. Is there a motion to move the appeal forward? I'm not seeing one. There being no motion to hear the appeal, the appellant's request that we entertain this appeal is denied. The commissioner's decision in the appeal is upheld. Okay. Before we break, the board will convene in a closed executive session to discuss a personnel matter. We have determined that the discussion involves individual privacy rights that outweigh the public's right to know, and we are closing the session to ensure confidentiality for 3 parties. The board will adjourn upon completion of executive session. Before we adjourn this, members of the board, campus leaders, any final comments or thoughts for us to consider while we're together today? Well, thank you again to OCHI staff, campus leaders, campus constituents. Thanks for all of the work that you're preparing to put in for the proverbial second half of the legislative session. Lots of work in front of us, and we're just real grateful for the leadership that's being provided. Seeing no further discussion in front of this board, we will adjourn. Members, you received a second link to join us in executive session. We'll get together again in May post-session. Thank you everyone for being on today's call. The meeting is adjourned.